Hi, this is David Davis, and I'm here with Krishna, who's one of the creative forces behind cloud physics. How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Great. So we've been talking a lot about cloud physics and the different capabilities it offers, and I know you've got a few more cards you want to demonstrate for us how cloud physics could help, the common virtualization admin out there.
Mm-hmm. So one of the interesting use cases is simulation angle, and people really never had simulation of their data centers.
No.
People, when they think about simulation, they think about simulation for designing a chip, or mostly from an academic point of view, not really from a practical use case point of view.
Yeah.
So what we have done in our simulation, data center simulation, is we allow users to play with configuration changes and play it out and see what if analysis. Mm-hmm. If I make this change, how that's going to impact my data center. So we allow people to do those kind of stuff. And we think that really changes the game for people making decisions about their data center. Today, we think a lot of people are making changes to their data center out of guesswork.
Yeah.
They spin a coin and then see, okay, let's make the change and see what happens. Right. So we avoid the guesswork, and we can allow people to make decisions which is data driven. So one such thing that I want to talk about today is the HA simulation card. So what this card does is, if you were to make any changes to your VMs in your HA cluster, it actually impacts the availability of your HA cluster. Not many people are aware of this. Mm-hmm. So we allow people to test that. So for instance, I can choose a vCenter here, and I can choose a particular HA cluster in that vCenter. And then I can say, I want to simulate a new policy. I want to simulate a policy for number of host failures this HA cluster can withstand. Then we show all the VMs associated with that particular cluster. Now you can play with the settings of the VMs and say that I want to increase the CPU reservation of the VM. Mm. And when you change the CPU reservation, you're actually impacting the available resources from an HA cluster point of view. Yeah. So now you can see those impact immediately. Why this is important is an admin might get a phone call from the app guy, and the app guy say, I want more CPU resources. Right. The admin says, okay, let me go change the CPU reservation. But when he makes the change, he's impacting his HA cluster. And many people don't realize that. They make the change, and later when they have an issue, they realize, oh, it's because of this change. Now they can do the analysis, and then they can go back and tell the app guy, saying, hey, if I make this change, this is the impact to my data center. Do you really want to do it? So they can have that conversation. Now let's say you are not an HA expert, and you're probably not sure what these parameters are. Mm-hmm. Maybe somebody within your organization is an HA expert, or maybe you're good friends with Duncan, right? So then what you can do is you can share this information, this particular piece of card, and you can send an email to anybody within your organization or outside, or a consultant or an expert, and you can invite them to view this card. So when they get an email, they get a link to this particular card, and they can actually look at the card with the live data, and they also can interact with the data, and they can play with the settings, and then they can send you recommendations back.
That's nice. It's not just a static PDF report they get.
It's not a PDF report. It's not a static configuration. Yeah. It has the latest changes that you have. This is in many ways better than even hosting a WebEx. Mm-hmm. Because in a WebEx environment, you have to host, and when you're hosting it, the data is available to the other person. But this shared functionality can be done, let's say, somebody in a different time zone. And when they wake up in the morning, they can come and look at it, and then they can give you an answer. Mm-hmm. The other nice thing about this shared model is, if you look at the vCenter permission model, the vCenter permission model is object-based. So you decide which objects in the vCenter has read permissions and write permissions, and that's how you allow or configure access control. But in this model, the access control is based on a conceptual view. So the conceptual view here is HA simulation, and then you can decide who gets to view the conceptual view. Nice. So this cuts across your vCenter, cuts across your object hierarchy in your infrastructure, and you can have silos based on the concepts you want to share. So this share functionality is there pretty much in all the cards that we have.
Very nice.
So you can share it for anything.
Yeah, I like that share functionality. And around this HA simulation, I was just thinking with admission control, A lot of admins, they use HA, but they, I think, don't fully understand it, which is why Duncan's book and Frank's book has been so popular. And with admission control, when you add a new host to a cluster, it determines at that time if the cluster is going to have enough resources to provide for the virtual machines if the host fails. But that's really the only time that analysis is done. So if you were to right size or modify virtual machines later, you don't really know. That analysis isn't done continuously, whereas this is.
This gives you instantaneously like how many VMs you can power on your cluster based on the settings that you change.
Very nice, and I mean a lot of admins even just disable admission control because they don't understand it, and that can be dangerous. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of admin problems today is that once data access is difficult, people don't do that stuff at all.
Right.
And second thing is they have to understand the data. Even if you have access to the data, you have to understand the data. And if you don't understand the data, then you're not. Even though the data has everything that you need to make a decision, since you don't understand the data, then you can't make a decision.
Yeah. It needs to be easy, and this is making it easy.
Yeah. The other interesting thing I want to show from a simulation angle is a lot of people go through the upgrade cycle. They upgrade from one version of ESX to the version of ESX, and they do planning for the upgrade process. And one of the key things for planning is whether your hardware is supported by the latest version of ESX. So if you've typically noticed, ESX support compatibility catches up after the new release. So when a new release comes out, not all your whole hardware is going to be supported. The support compatibility matrix grows with time. And some of the older hardware can be deprecated as well. So we have a card which shows you all the hosts that you have on your infrastructure. So you see all the hosts and what model, what CPU series, how many cores, how many threads you have. And like any other card, you can slice and dice it. You can slice and dice it by the system vendor. You can slice and dice by the form factor, by the model number, CPU series, and so on. But what is really cool here is you can also look at ESX host, which would be compatible for a different version of ESX. The way we do this is we have taken the compatibility matrix from VMware, and that again is a metadata. And we are mashing it up with your infrastructure information, like your system model number, BIOS version, and so on. And we can tell you that, okay, out of these hosts, which host will be compatible for ESX 5.5? Or you can even do the downgrade scenario, which host will be compatible for 4.1? So this gives you instantaneous results for you to plan your upgrade or a downgrade for whatever reason if you want to downgrade. You quickly get the list of hosts, which would you can safely upgrade without issues. So this is only a small portion of the upgrade story, right? There's also upgrade from a device's point of view. So VMware has compatibility for the host. They also have compatibility for the devices that you have on your host. So we have a card which also shows you all the devices that you have, storage devices, network devices, and we also show you which devices are in the compatibility list. And if it's not in the compatibility list, we also tell you on which versions of ESX it is supported. We tell you which is the firmware version and driver version you require. So we give all that information in the card. And this card also allows you to do quick inventory search. Like say you want to find out, I want to find out all the hosts which has NIC card, which is quad port, with a particular device driver name. You can do search, you can slice and dice your infrastructure from a device perspective.
Nice. So I mean, Cloud Physics, I think, is best known for performance analytics and analyzing, finding bottlenecks and contention. But I think a lot of people don't realize it can be really just a powerful decision-making tool.
Yes.
To help, during upgrades or, ensuring your HA cluster is going to provide.
You can also do inventory management. You don't have to maintain inventory anymore because Cloud Physics maintains inventory for you, both in terms of host, in terms of your devices that you have. So even before you make a purchase for a new storage device, you can find out if you have any storage device, a fiber channel adapter or an Ethernet adapter that you can repurpose from an existing machine.
Very
so
nice.
it's another way you can do cost savings.
Yeah. So and then it's all available as software as a service. It's a virtual appliance you deploy into vSphere. So really you can be up and running in minutes.
Literally in minutes. So that's the cool thing about all of this analysis that I've shown. It really comes from your configuration data.
Okay.
So the moment you install the observer and the first set of data gets uploaded, which happens within the first 5 minutes, you can start looking at this information straight away.
Very nice. And there's a community edition that's completely free, and then there's a evaluation version. And I like also that it's sold, per host. It's
Yes.
not a large, capex purchase you have to make.
Yes.
And it's also very affordable.
Yeah, so we don't penalize for people who do higher consolidation.
Right.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, thanks for your time today, Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you.